I join you in your vision to impact your city. Those who've read our books, particularly the book The Kingdom Agenda, know that that's the worldview that I operate from and that we are training churches in across the country. It is my contention that the unifying theme of Scripture is the kingdom. The word kingdom means rule or authority, and that God has an agenda for history, and that agenda is his kingdom, and so therefore I call it the kingdom agenda. May be defined as the visible demonstration of the comprehensive rule of God over every area of life. One of the key words that you'll find in Scripture that defines God's relationships with man is the word covenant. The word covenant is a word that refers to a spiritually binding relationship through which God administers his kingdom rule. The covenant is a binding relationship. It's not a casual relationship. For example, Malachi 2:14 says marriage is a covenant. She is your wife by covenant. So a covenant was an official thing, not a casual thing. It was contractual. Most of the covenants involved the shedding of blood. You remember the cowboys and Indians when they would covenant together and they would cut their wrists and grab their hands to establish an official bond. So that is the word covenant. Of course, in the New Testament, the church is called the New Covenant, predicated on his blood, 1 Corinthians 11 says. So this word covenant, God has four covenantal institutions, or four covenantal relationships, let me say it that way, three of which are institutions. The covenant with the individual, we try to win people to Christ to bring them into official relationship with God. Then there's the covenant of the family. Then there is the covenant of the church. And then there's a societal covenant through government. Government is God's officially ordained agency to maintain a just, safe, and productive environment in which freedom can flourish. And so those four relationships are the covenantal realms in which God operates and in how he administers his kingdom. And so that I start with the worldview because that worldview informs my programming, so to speak, in terms of how then do we reflect or manifest God's kingdom through these covenants in order to have maximum impact. Matthew 5:16 says, "Let men see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven." Let men see your good works. He has said that you are salt, you are light. We don't have time to go into the richness of those two illustrations, but he's talking to his disciples and he's explaining to them their relationship to the world. Salt is a preservative. It keeps things from decaying. Light is an illuminator. When you have light, you do not have to spend an enormous amount of time discussing darkness. I mean, if you walk into a dark room, and we're talking about how dark it is in this room, and somebody knows where the light switch is, we can end that conversation real quick. The only reason you spend a lot of time talking about darkness is because you either do not know or have not activated the light. So he says, let men see your good works, not merely hear your good words. It raises a question, what is a good work? A good work is different than a good thing. You don't have to be a follower of Christ to do good things. Sinners do good things all the time. They build orphanages, hospitals. They help the poor. They do good things all the time. But a good thing is not the same as a good work. A good work is restricted to believers. A good work is a divinely authorized activity for which God gets the glory and people get the benefit. It is a divinely authorized activity for which God gets the glory and people get the benefit. Let men see your good works and glorify your Father, not their Father, your Father who is in heaven. So that means that as you come together to impact Grand Rapids, there should be something visible. Let men see it. It should be something that's clearly illuminating and is unmistakably being driven by the disciples of Jesus Christ. And it is clearly Christian. It is not hidden. It's certainly done appropriately and responsibly, but it is clear that this is the Church of Jesus Christ at work, and God the Father is getting the glory. His name is all over it. It's not, you don't have to guess when the light is on. You don't have to wonder. It's not ambivalent or ambiguous. Glorify your Father who is in heaven. To glory means to advertise, put on display, highlight, manifest. So let men see what you're doing that benefits others. In other words, how are people helped by this good work for which God gets the glory, initiated by God's people? When we look at the four covenants, and again, there's a whole theology there in the book Kingdom Agenda to explain all of this, but when you look at the individual, the family, the church, and the community, the broader community, all four of those, by the way, are outlined in Psalm 128. Then you can begin to structure something that is kingdom-based, and the mere fact that you're looking at coming together as churches is kingdom. Because what you're doing, one church, the unity, the church, God's vehicle, and you're doing it for the well-being of the city. Jeremiah 29:7, seek the welfare of the city in which I have placed you. You have all the ingredients for major impact. In terms of structure, what you want to do is to maximize. Everybody can't do everything. Every church has its own ministry, its own program, its own focus. But from a kingdom perspective, you're looking at the city. Sometimes you hear churches say, well, I want our church to win this city for Christ. Well, that's not going to happen. There's no one church that's going to win a whole city to Christ. Okay? But the one church, that is churches to coming together, coagulating and becoming knitted, can have a profound impact on affecting the tide and the trajectory of a city. So, as I ended my talk yesterday, my recommendation is that you do two things. That you have something that you all do together that impacts the city visibly. That this thing we do. Now, my church, we do these things. But this thing, this good work, we do. And it becomes now a visible demonstration of the one church at work in an area that demonstrates clear benefit, but because the church is doing it, of course, it's for the glory of God. Now, the reason why our focus is on public schools is because for me, both locally and through our national ministry, that provided the best way to hit all 4 covenants at one time. So this is structurally related to a covenantal approach. Schools, they're kids. Kids have families. If the school is adopted by a church, that brings the church in. But if you've adopted all the schools in your city, well, you've impacted the whole community. But it allows every church to have its own school close to where that church is located. So you're hitting every community at one time. So if every school in Grand Rapids got adopted by a church in its vicinity or a coupling of churches, let's say a suburban church connects with an urban church to adopt this school, then you have reconciliation through service, not through seminars. You reconcile as you minister to somebody else, not as you talk about, can we all get along? And so it can be individual churches adopting individual schools or groups of churches adopting this one school across racial lines. But you've hit all 4 covenants in one motion. The goal is to provide mentoring, tutoring, and family support services, particularly to the at-risk students in that school. It can be done on campus or at the church. Just to give you our story, we adopted one school 25 years ago that was having trouble 1 mile from our church. And we just started very simply with men walking up and down the halls to bring order to the chaos there. Truancy went down, grades went up, violence went down. The principal was promoted to be head of the district, and he called me up and asked, will we adopt the whole district? So that was 18 schools. So now we have almost 60 schools where we're providing some level of mentoring, tutoring, and family support services. We've adopted a program, we developed a program called High School Heroes, where we mentor high schoolers to go down and mentor middle schoolers. So there's a peer process. And then we do things off campus on our church. So when the good work goes into the school, and most schools in America will allow a church, just like they allow a company, to adopt them, most schools, if you can develop a relationship with the principal. Because there's so much social upheaval now in the schools. So if you go into the schools, you go in as a social service provider, even though you're a religious institution. You're going for a social service provider. But in doing that, you make this connection. For example, we hold rallies at our church for the students. And the rallies are always advertised in the schools. The schools, principals advertise them, counselors advertise them, because we're there in the schools serving them. We provide lunches. We provide weekend snacks for the kids. We bring some of the professional athletes and hold rallies for the kids. We just do positive things. We can get into all of that makes up. Based on, but the beautiful thing about this is that it is scalable, meaning you can do it at the level that your church's capacity is at, or that your group of churches' capacity is at. So if you have a church of 40 members, then obviously you can't do what a church of 1,000 members can do, but you do it at that level until your church grows or until you get partners at that one school. But that allows us to hit all 4 covenants at one time without ever leaving the community. And if every school gets adopted that way, you've now blanketed it in an area that everybody can see, because everybody is positive about education, children, and families. So you hit education, children, and families. Now, that's the thing we promote. I'm not at all suggesting it is the only thing. You may have something that will work better for you, and that's fine. I'm just giving you what we're promoting. Our desire is to get every school, public school in America, adopted by a solid church. That's why we call it the National Church Adopted School Initiative. That now, in terms of unity, gives the Church of Jesus Christ, whatever you decide to do, that is that thing that the community can see, will allow the unity of the Church of Jesus Christ, the one church, to be seen. Now, pastors come together because of your common vision for the city, because of your common strategy that you're unified around, and you come together. And then the second thing I recommend is that once a year, once every other year, you host a gathering of the church in Grand Rapids, meaning all the congregations coming together to both educate the congregations and the members on what the Church of Jesus Christ is doing in Grand Rapids, and to minister to them, whether it's a conference or a rally or something, so that your congregants see the church at work. The adopted school thing is driven by volunteers. Now, we have a large staff at our church, but it's volunteer driven. I mean, whether it's going to an elementary school and just reading to the kids, or there are myriads of things you can do. And we provide both online and on-site training for, if you wanted to do this particular strategy, then we could send our team in to provide training for all of those who are going to participate, and show you programming and all the things that can be done. But the point is, you want your people to know that this is what our church is doing in conjunction with the church in Grand Rapids. And then you have this celebration bringing the Christian community together to celebrate your presence in the city. Lancaster is a community right outside of Dallas, and we've adopted the whole district. The superintendent is so excited about what we've done. We've adopted every school in the district. Margaret was a child on her way to nowhere, and her life was impacted through our High School Heroes program, and a single parent family that was, her mother was a prostitute and all that. But when God says, I'll be a mother to the motherless and a father to the fatherless, he doesn't mean he's going to be a floating spirit in Never Never Land. It means he's going to work through his people to provide surrogate family. And so we became surrogate family to her through our mentoring process. Her life totally turned around. She's now at the University of Kentucky, and she's preparing for the next Olympics now. And she's majoring in education because she wants to go back into the schools to do with other students what was done for her. So she's now going to become a very productive contributor, and that just because of the church's presence in her life and giving her a sense of family that she didn't possess. So that's just one story, one illustration of the kind of impact you can have. We got gobs of stories. And now the kids come on our campus for a whole bunch of stuff. And of course, when they come on the campus, we can straight give them the gospel but we don't get the opportunity to give them the gospel unless we show them the good works. Through our presence at the school, and now we're giving them the gospel at the church. So that's kind of what we focus on. We'll support you whatever you choose to do. I'm just telling you what our particular focus is and why that particular strategy is our strategy that we're trying to take across the nation. So I think we have a panel discussion now and a Q&A time. And so.
Well, let me take over because I'll introduce our
Okay.
speaker. So how about another hand for our friend?